Chapter 4061. The handsome youth, Jingtong, stared blankly at the piece of paper that drifted in the wind. The people beside him also stared at the piece of paper. They could not tell that a piece of paper that could be blown away by the wind at any moment had such power. Although they had not faced it personally, just the aftermath made them feel as though they had sunk into an icy pond. The cold was bone-chilling, causing their bodies to stiffen. "How powerful!" Jingfeng praised. As expected of junior brother Jingru, Jingtong nodded gently. His expression was solemn, and his eyes were bright like torches. "Junior brother Jingtong, are you still thinking of how to surpass junior brother Jingru?" Jingtong asked with a mocking smile. "The stronger junior brother Jingru is, the more motivated I am." Jingtong clenched his fists and said in a low but impassioned voice, "It's only interesting to surpass him like this, isn't it?" "Good, I admire your ambition." Jingfeng patted his shoulder and chuckled. "Work hard. Junior brother Jingru entered the sect later than us. It's not a problem sooner or later. As long as we keep working hard to catch up, we will surpass him one day." Jingtong's handsome face was firm and solemn. The people around him nodded. Some thought otherwise, while others deeply agreed. However, no matter what, they could not be weak. They had to work hard to be the first. It's all thanks to junior brother Jingru's array formation this time. Otherwise, this woman would have barged in again and tempted us to kill each other. It would have been impossible to guard against her. Someone shook his head and said, "This kind of woman is truly a source of calamity." "Great Skyfiend," someone said softly. Everyone broke into a flurry of discussion. News of the Great Skyfiend had unknowingly spread among them. They learned of Zhou Qinglan's origins and knew that she was a great Skyfiend that specialized in tempting and manipulating people's hearts. She was not a kind woman. Unfortunately, it was useless. The moment Zhou Qinglan appeared, just her moving voice alone made it difficult for them to control themselves. "Will she let it go so easily?" Jingtong frowned. "That's unlikely, right? If it were him, he would not retreat so easily, let alone a great Skyfiend." Jingfeng nodded. "She won't give up. Continue cultivating. There's no point in talking anymore. Only by having stronger martial arts can we stop her. We can't let junior brother Jingru do everything, right?" A shout came from afar. Everyone focused on cultivating. A quarter of an hour later, the sound of clothes fluttering in the wind could be heard. Close to 100 people rushed over from afar, holding long swords in their hands. Their eyes were cold and filled with killing intent. The expressions of Jingfeng and company changed slightly. They stopped cultivating and looked at the 100-odd people. They were all dressed in black, their eyes cold and emotionless. As they brandished their swords, they emitted a dense killing intent. Like arrows leaving the bow, they rushed to the front of the Lotus Flower School, about to charge up. Hee. A chuckle suddenly tugged at everyone's heartstrings. Jing Feng's expression changed slightly as he gritted his teeth. "Great Skyfiend." As expected, this woman did not give up. "If I can't charge, what about these people?" Zhou Qinglan's smile was so soft that it seemed like he was whispering into everyone's ears, but his words were clearly heard in everyone's hearts, tugging at their heartstrings. "This array can kill people. Let's kill them all together. They are all disciples of the Imperial sect." Everyone's expression changed drastically. With the death of these 100 extreme Imperial sect disciples, the Lotus Flower sect and the extreme Imperial sect would become mortal enemies. Even without Zhou Qinglan, if the two sects fought, both sides would suffer heavy losses, and the result would definitely be tragic. There was no movement from Chu Li, as if he was not inside the Lotus Flower School. The 100 extreme Imperial sect disciples were extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, they rushed to the front. Jing Feng and the others looked at all this anxiously, but they were powerless to stop them. They did not dare to rush out and block these extreme Imperial sect experts. The great Skyfiend watched covetously from the side, eager for them to rush out. "Ah!" Several extreme Imperial sect experts screamed, brandishing their swords and increasing their speed. Bang 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 bang. They suddenly flew out, waving their arms and legs in midair, and their swords had already left their hands. Jing Feng and the others immediately let out a long sigh of relief. More than 100 extreme Imperial sect experts flew out one by one, and their swords left their hands. They were slightly dazed in the air, and then they recovered their cold and emotionless state again. After landing on the ground, they picked up their swords and rushed down again. Jing Feng and the other Lotus Flower School disciples revealed smiles. Bang 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 bang. More than 100 extreme Imperial sect experts flew out again, and they couldn't help but wave their arms and legs, and their swords left their hands. A giant suddenly appeared in the void, as if Pangu had been resurrected, supporting the sky and stepping on the ground. It was also like a towering mountain, standing proudly between heaven and earth. Once this giant appeared, the Lotus Flower School disciples suddenly calmed down. They felt that they had been too impetuous before, and their minds had actually been taken away. It was as if they had woken up from a dream. The extreme Imperial sect disciples, who were picking up their swords and about to attack, suddenly stopped. They suddenly revealed a dazed expression, looking left and right. They were baffled. How did they get here? And what were they waving their swords for? They raised their heads and looked in the direction of the Lotus Flower School, and their expressions instantly changed slightly. This is the Lotus Flower School? We're attacking the Lotus Flower School? Someone cried out. Dingru, good move. A graceful and moving voice came from the void. Zhou Qinglan seemed to be speaking with a smile, using the heavenly demon field to restrain the heavenly demon field, and even combining it with the Buddhist field. You truly are a genius. I admire you more and more. Chu Li didn't say anything. Don't hide your head, come out and fight again, okay? Zhou Qinglan's voice was filled with laziness and indifference. Otherwise, I can let these 108 extreme Imperial sect experts kill each other. The void was silent, and there was still no Chu Li's voice. Okay, let's see how ruthless you really are. Zhou Qinglan laughed lightly. She appeared in the void in a snow-white palace dress, her figure graceful. Although her face couldn't be seen clearly, everyone still felt that she was like a fairy that wanted to ascend to the heavens. She stepped in the void and laughed lightly, like the sound of heaven falling. The extreme Imperial sect experts who had just woken up suddenly fell into infatuation again, their eyes once again cold and stubborn. They turned around and left, arriving at an open space 300 meters away, and then began to kill each other. The giant in the void slowly disappeared. Zhou Qinglan stood in the void, watching the 100 extreme Imperial sect disciples kill each other. In the blink of an eye, 10 extreme Imperial sect experts had already died tragically under the hands of their fellow disciples. Seeing this scene, the Lotus Flower School disciples couldn't help but think of the previous situation. They had also killed each other like this, and luckily junior brother Dingru had rushed back. The extreme Imperial sect experts continued to decrease. In the time they were thinking, another 10 extreme Imperial sect experts died tragically, falling to the ground silently. The sword in their hearts was already beyond saving. They weren't disciples of the Lotus Flower School, so they couldn't be saved by the Golden Pool. Furthermore, the extreme Imperial sect also didn't have a place of resurrection, so they died. The Lotus Flower School disciples couldn't bear it and didn't dare to watch anymore. This was too tragic. Being killed by a fellow disciple, no matter if it was the killer or the victim, it was a tragedy. They raised their heads to look at Zhou Qinglan standing in the void with her clothes fluttering in the wind, yet they couldn't feel any hatred. They only felt that she had gone a bit too far. What a good Dingru, a heart of stone. Zhou Qinglan laughed lightly, shook his head and said, You're just going to watch them all die? The Lotus Flower School disciples were also confused. Junior brother Dingru couldn't be that ruthless, right? Jingfeng said in a deep voice, Junior brother Dingru can only do this. If you make a move, there will be endless trouble. This time it was the extreme Imperial sect disciples, next time it would be the cult of Nine Ghost, and next time it would be some other sect. Junior Brother Dingru would have to save all the disciples from killing each other, and Junior Brother Dingru could only be led by the nose. It was better to just harden his heart and cut off Zhou Qinglan's way of using this as a threat. That way, fewer people would die. Please remember this book's original domain name. Mobile version of the fastest updated website, M. Chapter 4062. Sigh. Zhou Qinglan sighed faintly. There were only 10 Zenith sect masters left in the field. The rest of the Zenith sect disciples had all fallen to the ground, all of them killed by the sword in their hearts. The eyes of these 10 Zenith sect masters suddenly changed, turning from cold and determined to blank, then to clear again as they looked around. They thought of what they had done earlier. They had killed their seniors and juniors with their own hand. Although it was in a blurry state, it was an indisputable fact that they had killed their fellow disciples. Guilt flooded over them like a tidal wave, directly engulfing them. Tsk, 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 tsk. They turned the tip of their sword and stabbed it into their hearts. Why bother? Zhou Qinglan sighed softly. If you've killed them, then you've killed them. Why feel guilty? The human heart is so fragile. The Lotus sect disciples gritted their teeth and wanted nothing more than to run forward to stop them, but they were too late. They could only watch as the Zenith sect masters died. There were 108 masters. Attacking the Lotus sect was bound to be a chaotic battle, but they had killed each other in front of their eyes. It had only been 15 minutes. They felt an inexplicable chill and could not help but shiver. The great heavenly demon was too terrifying. They all looked up in the direction of Chu Li's courtyard. Chu Li did not appear. Obviously, he was going to stand by and watch. They knew that this was a rational approach, but they could not help but feel a little disappointed. There was nothing wrong with being rational, but it lacked passion and kindness. Good. Good. Zhou Qinglan praised, and her figure gradually blurred. Dingru, I'd like to see how much you can endure. She completely disappeared into the void. Phew. The Lotus sect disciples let out a long sigh. There was an invisible force that made it hard for them to breathe. This force disappeared with Zhou Qinglan's disappearance. She won't let this go, Jing Feng said in a low voice. The disciples nodded. This great heavenly demon was indeed inhumane. Killing 108 people was obviously not enough. More people would die tragically. We're in trouble. Ah. Junior Brother Jingru, what should we do? Since it has come to this, we must hold back and not make a move. I'm just afraid that we can't hold back. This great heavenly demon is too inhumane. Who can hold back? To deal with such an inhumane person, we can only be inhumane. Otherwise, we'll be completely at her mercy. There's nothing we can do. This great heavenly demon's terror is indeed not a legend. Can't we deal with her? The great sky fiend is lawless and uncontrollable. Junior Brother Jinru has been silent all this time. Is he in seclusion? Perhaps he has found a way to restrain her, so the great sky fiend is forcing him to interrupt his cultivation? That makes sense. Everyone hurriedly nodded. Regardless of whether it was true or not, they would rather believe it. That was why Junior Brother Jinru wasn't ruthless and cold. Instead, he was in a closed-door training state and couldn't be interrupted. Again. A chuckle tugged at their heartstrings again. They knew that they should hate this great sky demon, but they couldn't bring themselves to hate her. Their hearts couldn't help but pound when they heard her voice. 200 gray-clothed youths held long swords in their hands and rushed in front of the Lotus Flower sect. Then, they were bounced back by a gentle force and their long swords fell to the ground. The scene at the extreme Emperor sect repeated itself. More than 200 gray-clothed youths quickly retreated 200 meters from the Lotus Flower School, and then a tragic scene of killing each other took place. In the end, not a single one of them survived. They were separated from the dead disciples of the extreme monarch sect, separated into two groups about 100 meters apart. There were two corpses lying on the ground, and only the long sword was stuck in the ground. Everyone trembled in fear as they watched. Chills ran down their spines, but they were powerless to stop them. Jinru, who could stop them, didn't move at all. They couldn't help but look in the direction of Chu Li's courtyard. Unfortunately, there was no movement there. They gradually became somewhat numb as they watched group after group of people rush towards the Lotus Flower School. Then, they were bounced back by an invisible force and killed each other when they were separated by more than 200 people. From early morning to evening, the outside of the Lotus Flower School was already covered with corpses. The densely packed scene formed a strong impact, accompanied by the smell of blood that filled the sky. Almost none of the disciples of the Lotus Flower School didn't vomit. They vomited into a mess, and their faces were pale. Half of it was because of vomiting, and the other half was because of the impact of the scene of corpses everywhere. As disciples of the Lotus Flower School, they had never seen such a scene. At this time, they no longer hoped that Chu Li would appear again. So many people had died, but junior brother Jinru still hadn't appeared. This meant that he was determined not to come out. Their hearts were filled with contradictions. They knew that what they did was not wrong, but seeing how rational Chu Li was, they were slightly disappointed. Such rationality was almost cold-blooded. Such a cold-blooded person, even if what he did was not wrong, they were still somewhat wary. Sigh. With a faint sigh, Zhou Qinglan once again appeared in the void. Her snow-white palace dress fluttered, like a fairy that had been banished to the mortal world. Even though they knew that they should hate her because she was a true cold-blooded heavenly demon, they still couldn't feel hatred when they saw her. Jinru, I really admire you. Zhou Qinglan chuckled. Seeing all living beings as ants, this is the imposing manner that a heavenly demon should have. Then, this time, we'll stop here. Zhou Qinglan continued, 3 days later, I will bring another group of people over. Let's see how long you can hide like a turtle for. Once she finished speaking, she stepped into the void and disappeared. All the disciples of the Lotus Flower School sighed and sat down on the ground weakly. This heavenly demon has finally left. She'll come again. The heavens really are blind, to actually have such a person appear. She's no longer a person, she's a great heavenly demon. Great heavenly demon, oh great heavenly demon, so scary, so scary. Everyone discussed and then unconsciously looked in the direction of Chu Li's courtyard. Deep in their hearts, they still felt that they shouldn't be so cold-blooded, even though this was the most rational thing to do. However, they didn't want to discuss it, feeling that this was a taboo topic. Only Jingtong shook his head and sighed. Junior brother Jinru is too rational. Jingfeng glared at him. Jingtong said, although we can't stop her from killing people, it might not be the same as not doing it. Such a cold-blooded method is really... Junior brother Jingtong, can you say less? Jingfeng shouted. Jingtong said unhappily, I can't even say it? Although junior brother Jinru is the #1 expert of our Lotus Flower School, you can't be so overbearing, right? You! Jingfeng glared at him angrily. Jingtong snorted. I hate answering bugs the most. Jingfeng gritted his teeth and glared angrily. Jingtong turned his head and didn't look at him. At this moment, Chu Li's figure appeared in the void. Everyone was stunned and then burst into an uproar. They didn't expect Chu Li to appear at this time. If he appeared at this time, didn't it mean that he had been hiding and didn't come out earlier, showing how cold his heart was? A giant Buddha suddenly appeared in the void behind Chu Li's head. It was dressed in black, and there was a wheel attached to each of its shoulders. One black and one white wheel slowly rotated. The giant Buddha pressed his palms together and extended his hands. The two black and white wheels landed in his left and right hands respectively. They rotated at high speeds, forming a ball of white light and black light. The giant Buddha swung its hands, and the white and black lights fused in the air, forming a black and white wheel. It quickly rotated in front of the Lotus Flower School, passing over 10,000 corpses. The two wheels disappeared into the void, and the giant Buddha also slowly merged into the void. P.S. Update complete. Please remember this book's original domain name. Mobile version's fastest updated website. Chapter 4063. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. Now that they thought of redeeming the dead, what had they been doing when they were alive? What was the use of redeeming them? Inexplicably, they felt somewhat resentful. The fox grieved for the rabbit's death. They thought that if they were like these people, junior brother Jingru would probably not save them. Jingtong shook his head. He glanced at Jingfeng and sighed. Jingfeng glared at him and snorted. Junior brother Jingru has no obligation to save them. Why wouldn't he? Isn't it for us? Jingtong said, I'd rather he save them and ignore us. Sure, you're the greatest. Jingfeng sneered mockingly. Look! Someone exclaimed. The two of them looked up. The few pagodas at the top of the mountain suddenly lit up. Then, rays of light drifted out like fireflies floating in the air. No one knew the use of these pagodas. They were not like Buddhist pagodas, but they were also not like anything else. They were curious for a while, but they didn't see any miraculous uses, so they slowly calmed down. They didn't expect them to show signs at this time. The wisps of fluorescent light drifted into the corpses on the ground. Almost every corpse had a wisp of fluorescent light. They stared at this strange phenomenon with widened eyes. A moment later, the corpses on the ground suddenly moved. First one, then two, then three. Finally, all the corpses began to move and stood up. The lotus flower sect people's eyes widened to the limit in disbelief. Were these corpses moving? They looked at Chuli, but he was nowhere to be seen. This is? Jingtong said in surprise. Don't tell me he resurrected them? Impossible. Jingfeng's eyes shone as he said excitedly, What's impossible? This is resurrection. I really didn't expect it. They didn't make a fuss about resurrection. The golden pool had such miraculous uses, but these 10,000 corpses weren't Lotus Flower sect disciples. It was impossible to resurrect them, yet they came back to life. Clearly, it was the miraculous use of the two wheels of the giant Buddha. They didn't know what method it was to resurrect the dead out of thin air. Haha, no wonder. No wonder. Jingfeng was overjoyed. He looked at Jingtong and sneered. Now I know what it means to measure the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a petty person. Jingtong said with a smile, All right, I was just being petty. I really never expected junior brother Jingru to be so capable. What kind of divine technique is this? Who cares what divine technique he has, as long as he can be resurrected? Jingfeng said excitedly, With this, we won't have to be afraid of the great skyfiend killing people. Jingtong shook his head. Impossible. There was a limit to reviving Lotus Flower sect disciples in the golden pool, let alone reviving out of thin air. Jingfeng said, Junior brother Jinru, nothing is impossible. Jingtong shook his head and said, Senior brother Jingfeng, it's fine to worship someone, but you can't worship them without a bottom line, right? Jingfeng glared at him disdainfully. When the 10,000 people woke up, they stared at each other in bewilderment. Slowly, they recalled what had happened and their faces fell. They all looked towards the Lotus Flower sect, then cupped their fists, turned around and left. Jingxue looked at Chu Li and sized him up. There were already 3 halos behind Chu Li's head. They were so solid that they looked like 3 moons stacked on top of each other according to their sizes. The halo was bright and flawless, pure and solid. She wished she could reach out and touch it. Senior brother, this is? Jing Shui stared at the 3 halos. Chu Li said, The light of merit. The merit from saving these 10,000 people? Jing Shui looked at him. Chu Li nodded. Jing Shui said, Senior brother, you didn't do this on purpose, did you? I just went with the flow. Chu Li shook his head. Jing Shui laughed. I wonder if Zhou Qinglan will explode in anger when she sees this. Chu Li said, she won't feel anger. The great heavenly demon could manipulate other people's emotions, but she could also control her own. Negative emotions like anger could be eliminated at any time. The great heavenly demon could have whatever emotions she wanted. She was no longer a slave to emotions, but a master of them. What a terrifying great heavenly demon! Jing Shui shook her head. After personally experiencing how terrifying the great heavenly demon was, she really did not want to meet the great heavenly demon again. It would be best if they never met again. What's the use of this light of merit? Jing Shui asked. Senior brother would never do anything useless, Chu Li said, to strengthen the power of Buddhist martial arts. Jing Shui tilted her head and thought. The Great Light Scripture? Chu Li nodded. At this moment, Zhou Qinglan appeared again. She looked at the 10,000 people in the distance and shook her head. As expected, they have a backup plan. The next moment, she suddenly rushed toward the lotus sect. Golden light flashed on the pagoda, and then the sword scroll was activated. 3 sword energies shot into her graceful body, but she did not dodge and allowed the sword energies to pierce her chest. Under the obstruction of the golden light and sword energies, she rushed into the lotus sect and shot into the disciples. Jingtong huffed angrily and went forward. The lotus wheel was like a shadow that swept across Zhou Qinglan's neck. Interesting. Zhou Qinglan chuckled. She tilted her neck slightly and avoided the lotus wheel. Her delicate palm lightly pressed against Jingtong. Jingtong immediately fell limply to the ground. The next moment, she hit another lotus sect disciple. He also fell limply to the ground and was silent. He was completely dead. Damn it! Chu Li shouted. The next moment, he appeared in front of Zhou Qinglan and threw a punch. He used the giant spirit fist. Bang! Zhou Qinglan flew backward and laughed in the air. Then, she disappeared into the void without a trace. Chu Li's face darkened. He turned to look at Jingtong and the other lotus sect disciple. Jing Shui had already picked up the two and rushed toward the golden pool. Chu Li glanced at the stunned crowd and said in a low voice, Senior brothers and sisters, be careful. Don't be careless. Everyone nodded hurriedly. Chu Li did not leave. He just stood there quietly. Jing Feng said, Junior brother Jingru, Jingtong, Jingfan, and the others? Chu Li shook his head. They can't live. Jing Feng asked. Chu Li sighed. The heavenly demonic power is vicious. Their souls have already been destroyed. It's probably impossible to revive them. His expression was calm, as if he was neither happy nor sad. However, he was so angry that he almost exploded. His killing intent toward Zhou Qinglan boiled. He almost could not control himself and rushed out to find Zhou Qinglan. However, he knew that it was useless. He had not cultivated the boundless light technique to its peak, so its power was not enough to destroy her. He had enough merit, but his spiritual power was not strong enough. The essence of the boundless light technique was to burn one's essence, energy, and spirit. Its power came from one's essence, energy, and spirit. His current essence, energy, and spirit were not enough to destroy the great heavenly demon. Therefore, he still needed to cultivate and improve. If he used it now, he would be sacrificing himself for nothing and would not be able to destroy Zhou Qinglan. Every time he thought of this, he calmed down and turned his anger into killing intent. Then, he turned it into the sword energy of the Azure Cloud Divine Sword. After a while, Jing Shui returned with a solemn expression. Faced with everyone's eager gazes, she shook her head gently. They won't come back alive. Ah! The crowd was furious. Chu Li nodded calmly and disappeared in a flash. Junior sister Jing Shui, is there no hope at all? Jing Feng asked hurriedly. There's no response from the golden pool. They were directly pushed out, Jing Shui said softly. Everyone gritted their teeth. They're already buried outside the golden pool. Jing Shui sighed. When you have time, you can go over and lay a foundation. Please remember this book's domain name. The fastest website for mobile version. Chapter 4064. Everyone nodded solemnly, then turned and left. Seeing them disappear, Jing Shui looked at Chu Li. Chu Li said calmly, "Let's go back." "Senior brother," Jing Shui said, "you can't be blamed for this." Chu Li said, "Blame me for not being able to kill Zhou Qinglan. She's so powerful. It's already rare that you could do this." Jing Shui put her hand on his arm. Chu Li smiled. "I'm fine." Seeing him so calm, Jing Shui's heartstrings tightened, and she was inexplicably worried. Chu Li said, "Let's focus on cultivating. Junior sister, you should be careful too." "Senior brother, focus on cultivating," Jing Shui said. Chu Li nodded and returned to the house to continue cultivating. Demon Subduing Hall was entrenched somewhere in the void, like a monster taking a nap. The void around it was silent and quiet. Zhou Qinglan suddenly appeared and looked at the Demon Subduing Hall. She chuckled and arrived outside the hall in the next moment. Demon Subduing Hall suddenly shot out a beam of golden light. She leaped and disappeared on the spot, appearing in another hall in the next moment. However, the golden light followed her and landed on her. Hiss, 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 hiss. White smoke came out of her body. Her expression changed and she scoffed. White light burst out of her body, shaking off the golden light. She gritted her teeth. She pressed her palm out lightly. A white jade palm appeared in the void and floated towards the Demon Subduing Hall in the distance, moving faster and faster. Boom! Demon Subduing Hall suddenly shot out a beam of golden light to meet the white jade palm. The two collided with a muffled sound like thunder. In the muffled sound, the white jade palm and the golden light disappeared at the same time. Zhou Qinglan snorted and continued to strike with his palm. The white jade palms floated towards the Demon Subduing Hall in the void, and the Demon Subduing Hall kept shooting golden light. The two collided with a thunderous sound and then disappeared. Zhou Qinglan did not believe that the Demon Subduing Hall could produce too much golden light, and her inner energy was almost endless. She wanted to see how long the Demon Subduing Hall could last. 2 hours later, the sound of thunder could still be heard. Zhou Qinglan calmly struck out with his palms, palm strike after palm strike. After 2 hours of continuous palm strikes, she did not look impatient at all. She was still as focused as she was on the first palm strike. On the other hand, the Demon Subduing Hall was the same. Just like the first time it shot out the golden light was still bright and full, and its might hadn't decreased in the slightest. 4 hours later, it was still the same as before. The white jade palm print and the golden light kept colliding. 6 hours later, it was still the same. At the 4th hour, Zhou Qinglan suddenly withdrew his palm and floated closer. When the golden light flickered, a white jade palm seal met it. Boom! 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 All of the golden rays were blocked by the white jade palm imprint. She crashed into the Demon Subduing Palace with a bang, causing the entire palace to tremble. In an instant, several beams of golden light lit up. Her body shone brightly, and then she disappeared. In the next moment, a golden light engulfed the area she was in, but she had already disappeared. Then, she appeared in the palace. Chu Li was standing in the basilica, quietly looking at her. Dingru, you're actually here?" Zhou Qinglan chuckled and said, "So you've been training in seclusion here." Chu Li calmly said, "Sect leader Zhou, how long are you going to keep this up?" "As long as you become my heavenly demon general, it'll be over." Zhou Qinglan grinned. "If you don't agree, we'll continue." Chu Li said, "Looks like I'll have to perish together with you." The 3 women behind him curiously looked at her. "She really is a witch." Sun Mingyue scoffed. "She's covered in demonic energy." "Oh, she's a Buddhist saint," Zhou Qinglan exclaimed. "She's so pure even after losing her virginity. She's extraordinary." Sun Mingyue asked, "What do you want?" Zhou Qinglan calmly replied, let's see how Dingru performs. Either she becomes a heavenly demon general, or I'll watch you die. Humph, how arrogant! Sun Mingyue said. This is the demon subduing hall, not your creation sect. Zhou Qinglan said, then I'll send you on your way. She disappeared in a flash and appeared behind Sun Mingyue in the next moment. Then, she gently swung her palm at Chu Li's right fist. Boom! There was a loud explosion. Zhou Qinglan fluttered backward and stopped in midair. This move again. Dingru, can you switch to another martial art? Chu Li calmly said, this punch is enough to deal with you. Among the many martial arts he cultivated, the giant spirit fist was the most effective against her. The azure cloud divine sword was sharp and could destroy souls, but it could not do anything to her. Do you agree or not? Zhou Qinglan frowned. I'm losing my patience. If you don't agree, I'll kill you. Impossible. Chu Li growled. All right then, I'll kill you. Zhou Qinglan's beautiful face darkened. Her figure suddenly blurred and appeared behind Chu Li. Chu Li turned and threw a punch. Bam! Zhou Qinglan took a step back. She suddenly blurred in the air again and appeared in front of Chu Li. Chu Li threw another punch and she retreated again. Zhou Qinglan continued to press forward and Chu Li punched her again and again. Zhou Qinglan chuckled. Let's see how many more punches you can throw. She was best at entanglement and loved it. It was the most wonderful thing to watch her opponent slowly lose his strength and become a sheep waiting to be slaughtered. Chu Li remained silent and only threw punches after punches as if his inner energy was endless. Shao Qi and the other two girls frowned. After a quarter of an hour, Zhou Qinglan suddenly glowed and lightly hit Chu Li's chest with her palm. She smiled sweetly. Die! Chu Li felt as if he had been hit by a giant wood. He flew backward and spat out blood in the air. Then, he threw another punch. Bam! This punch hit the air and failed to hit Zhou Qinglan. Zhou Qinglan followed up with another palm strike on his chest. Bam! A strange sound came from Chu Li's body. Then, blood and flesh splattered everywhere. When he fell to the ground, only his head was left. His eyes were closed and he was completely dead. Zhou Qinglan was in the air and sighed. Chu Li, although you're strong, you're no match for me. I've been giving you chances but you didn't cherish them. This is what you get. Sun Mingyue said in a low voice, shut up. Zhou Qinglan turned to look at the three girls and shook her head. I'll send all of you down to accompany him. That way, you won't be lonely down there. Sun Mingyue said coldly, that's what I was thinking. Zhou Qinglan suddenly flashed and appeared behind Sun Mingyue. Sun Mingyue's body shone brightly. She bent her fingers and formed a mudra. Then, with a light flick, a light finger energy landed on Zhou Qinglan. Sun Mingyue and the other two girls all had Chu Li's cultivation level. They had not shown it before but now they really showed it. Bam! Zhou Qinglan moved sideways but could not avoid it. The finger energy landed on her body like a soldering iron in water. White steam came out and her expression changed. Great light scripture. Lu Yurong and Shao Qi attacked. TSK, 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 TSK. Lu Yurong used the Empyrean fairy power, while Shao Qi used the Azure Cloud divine sword. Both of their sword energies were unique and sharp. Ding ding. Zhou Qinglan blocked it with her palm. Suddenly, she turned to look at the ground. Chu Li had recovered. A new body grew under his head and his flesh and blood were restored. He suddenly opened his eyes and smiled coldly at her. Zhou Qinglan shouted, something's wrong. P.S. Update complete. Please remember this book's original domain name. Fastest website for mobile version, M. Chapter 4065. She realized that there was something wrong with the Chu Li before her. She had never thought that anyone could perform the body separation technique or have an incarnation. Hence, when she saw that Chu Li was quieter than usual, she was not surprised and thought that it was because he hated her. When she saw Chu Li's smile, she realized that something was amiss. This Dingru was different from the Dingru she had met before. They were definitely not the same person. As a great heavenly demon, she could tell. "Who are you?" she shouted. Sun Mingyue and the other two retreated. Zhou Qinglan glared at them and said coldly, "Very good. You used a fake Dingru to trick me." Sun Mingyue said, "He's not a fake." "If he's not a fake, then is he the real one?" Zhou Qinglan smiled mockingly. As a great heavenly demon, she rarely showed such an expression. Ever since she mastered the heavenly demonic power, she had always been elegant and calm. Sun Mingyue nodded and said, "He's Dingru too." "Impossible!" Zhou Qinglan shouted. Chu Li said, "I'm Dingru too. I'm just a body separation." "Have you perfected your heavenly demonic power too?" Zhou Qinglan said mockingly. Chu Li shook his head. "Although it's not perfected, I was able to use an incarnation by chance. You're not the only one in the world who can use an incarnation. Then I'll destroy this incarnation of yours." Zhou Qinglan sneered. She turned into a blurry shadow and drifted unpredictably behind Chu Li. She struck out with her palm and met Chu Li's fist. Bam 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 bam. The two fell into a chaotic battle again. Sun Mingyue and the other two stood aside and carefully observed Zhou Qinglan, trying to figure out her body technique, martial arts, and habit. The three women were extremely intelligent and knowledgeable. Through Zhou Qinglan's techniques and body technique, they slowly deduced the depth of her cultivation level. Half an hour later, they had already understood. Zhou Qinglan's cultivation level was high, but not as high as Chu Li's. However, her heavenly demonic power was perfected, so she had extraordinary divine powers. If she had a body separation and an indestructible body, she would be difficult to deal with. Even those with a higher cultivation level could not suppress her, let alone those with the same cultivation level as her. Her body technique was unpredictable, so she was not afraid of being besieged. There was no difference between 1 and 5 people fighting her. She must have some hidden skills. Based on this deduction, it was impossible to suppress or kill her. The three women looked at each other with solemn expressions. This time, Chu Li had met a real opponent. If he was not careful, he could really lose his life. They could not help but feel their heartstrings tighten, and they became even more serious as they watched. Ding! A crisp sound rang out, and Zhou Qinglan laughed delicately. Die! Chu Li's flesh and blood splattered everywhere, leaving only his head behind. Zhou Qinglan chased after Chu Li's head. He wanted to destroy Chu Li from the root, but he did not expect Chu Li's head to escape so quickly that he could not catch up to it. It was as if his head had been freed from the shackles and burdens of his body. His speed increased by several times, making it impossible for him to catch up. Zhou Qinglan suddenly flashed and shot toward Sun Mingyue and the other two women. Sun Mingyue and the others stood in a triangle formation, each using their fists and fingers to block Zhou Qinglan's sudden attack. The three of them had a tacit understanding with each other. Their moves were continuous and airtight, not giving her the slightest chance to rush in. Chu Li was resurrected again. His body seemed to have suddenly appeared. There was no slow process of formation. It was as if a body had suddenly moved over and pressed on his head. Chu Li rushed toward her again, and the two of them fought again. Sun Mingyue and the other two women breathed a sigh of relief and continued to stare at her. They noticed that Zhou Qinglan's body technique was even faster. It was as if she was pressured by Chu Li to the point where her potential was unleashed, and her cultivation level improved greatly. The three women's expressions became more and more serious. It was really troublesome to encounter such a genius. If this continued, Zhou Qinglan would become stronger and stronger. In the end, they would not be able to survive. What should we do? Lu Yurong frowned. Should we use the technique of mutual destruction? Not unless it's absolutely necessary. Sun Mingyue shook her head. Lu Yurong frowned. Let me borrow the Azura's power. She raised her head and looked above the basilica. Her gaze seemed to pass through the basilica and into the void. She saw the Azura in the void, and her gaze met with the female Azura in the other world. The female Azura's body lit up. A mysterious force penetrated through the void and landed on Lu Yurong's body. Lu Yurong's temperament suddenly changed. She had an inexplicable and ethereal aura. She wore the same clothes and the same appearance. Now, she seemed to be untainted by the mortal world. She lightly tapped with her finger. Ding! Zhou Qinglan suddenly extended her left palm. Her white jade-like left palm suddenly lit up and let out a clear ringing sound. Her expression changed slightly as she turned to look at Lu Yurong. Lu Yurong's facial features were the same, but now they were ethereal and elegant. Her eyes were cold and emotionless. Azura! Zhou Qinglan shouted. Lu Yurong pursed her red lips and lightly slashed with her palm like a knife. Swoosh! The sound of cloth tearing. Zhou Qinglan suddenly moved. A black seam appeared where she originally was. Zhou Qinglan said in a low voice, "You've really hidden yourself well. You're an Azura." Lu Yurong lightly slashed again. Swoosh! Zhou Qinglan moved again and dodged this slash. Then another slash after another. Zhou Qinglan dodged again and again. Chu Li stood at the side without moving. Zhou Qinglan was annoyed after dodging a few times. "You're an Azura, how did you become Ding Ru's woman?" Just at this moment, a bolt of lightning struck down with a rumble. Zhou Qinglan wanted to dodge but found her body stiffened. A bolt of lightning flashed in her mind. It was a sword that flashed with lightning. It was the god-slaying thunder sword. While she was concentrating, the lightning struck her body. Her body stiffened as the lightning struck her. The pain was unbearable. Her white palace gown turned to ash, revealing her fair skin. "Damn it!" Zhou Qinglan shouted and disappeared in a flash. The next moment, she appeared behind Chu Li and pressed her palm on his back. Chu Li's flesh melted and turned into nothingness. Chu Li's head disappeared at the same time. "Heh, let's see if you can survive this," Zhou Qinglan sneered. When she appeared again, she was wearing another white palace gown. She stared coldly at Sun Mingyue and the other two women. She had lost all her gentleness and smile. Only coldness and sternness were left, giving the three women immense pressure. The three women's faces tightened as they looked in the direction Chu Li disappeared. "You," Sun Mingyue said in a low voice, "you killed him? Did you really think I couldn't kill him?" Zhou Qinglan said coldly, "I was just toying with him for fun. You deserve to die." Sun Mingyue shouted. Zhou Qinglan scoffed, "All of you deserve to die. I'll send you on your way." Lu Yurong's aura became more ethereal. A great light Buddha appeared in the void above Sun Mingyue. It shone brightly like a sun. A script appeared in the void above Shaoqi. It was different from the script of the Azure Cloud Divine Sword. It faintly exuded a destructive force. "Ding Ru is not worthy of you," Zhou Qinglan said coldly. She pressed her palm. A white jade palm appeared in the void and attacked the three women. Ding 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 ding. The Azura blade slashed the white jade palm, the great light finger hit the palm, and the strange sword energy hit the palm. However, the white jade palm was still there. It approached the three women and crashed into them. Boom! The three women were sent flying, but they did not separate in the air. Another white jade palm print followed closely behind. Boom! 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 The three women were like small boats in a raging storm. They were sent flying again and again by the white jade palm. They flew around the demon-slaying hall with blood at the corner of their mouths and their faces as pale as paper. Please remember the domain name of this book. The fastest website for mobile version, M. Chapter 4066. Stop! Chu Li yelled as he appeared. Zhou Qinglan ignored him. She had lost all warmth and only had killing intent. White jade palm prints came one after another, hitting the three women until they vomited blood and could not fight back. The great light Buddha, the Asura, and the sword section could not stop the white jade palm print. It was as if they had condensed the firmest and purest form of heaven and earth. Chu Li said, "I'm not an incarnation." Zhou Qinglan suddenly stopped and looked down at him from the void. "You're not an incarnation?" Chu Li fist saluted and said calmly, "Sect leader Zhou, it's time for us to end this once and for all. Let's end it here today." "What are you trying to do?" Zhou Qinglan smiled again. She was extremely beautiful, and when she smiled sweetly, she was as dazzling as the morning star, making it hard for people to look at her directly. At this moment, she was staring at Chu Li with overflowing interest. Chu Li looked at the three women calmly. Shao Qi quickly said, "Husband, don't do anything stupid." Chu Li stepped to Shao Qi's side and wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. He sighed softly. "Madam," he was deeply in love with Shao Qi, but he was also grateful to her. He also felt guilty about her, which was deeply engraved in his bones. Shao Qi held his hand tightly. "Husband, don't do anything stupid." Chu Li shook his head and smiled. "I've always been grateful and guilty for not being able to treat you wholeheartedly." He was only the chief of the High Duke's public house back then. He was just a servant, but Shao Qi treated him as an equal and loved him deeply. It was almost impossible in the other world. The social hierarchy was deeply rooted in people's hearts and could not be broken. No matter how handsome or beautiful a servant was, they were still servants and could not be treated equally. He reincarnated, so the concept of equality was deeply rooted in his bones. That was why he could stand tall in front of Shao Qi. If it was someone else, they would not be able to do it. Nonetheless, he knew how difficult it was for Shao Qi to do this. No matter how strong his martial arts and wisdom were, he could not make a woman fall in love with him. He had always been grateful that Shao Qi fell in love with him. "What's the point of saying this?" Shao Qi said softly. Sun Mingyue and Lu Yurong turned to look at her. Shao Qi was one step ahead. Even if they were great overarching golden immortals, they could not change time or turn back time. Zhou Qinglan did not disturb them. He stood in the void and smiled at Chu Li. Chu Li held Xiao Qi's hand tightly and turned to look at Lu Yurong. "Yurong, you're also a god's favored daughter. It's been hard on you. Stop talking mushy stuff." Lu Yurong rolled her eyes at him. Chu Li looked at Sun Mingyue again. Sun Mingyue said, "Let's not talk about this nonsense anymore. We don't feel wronged." Since ancient times until now, which man had his wisdom and achievements, Chu Li was the first person in history. It was an honor to be his woman. How could she feel aggrieved? If she wasn't Chu Li's woman, she wouldn't have experienced all these strange things. That kind of life was too mediocre, too boring. Chu Li smiled. "Husband." Shao Qi frowned. "Let's just avoid it." Chu Li sighed. "I can avoid her, but I can't avoid myself. I can't get over it." "What are you going to do?" Shao Qi asked softly. Chu Li said, "I'm going to destroy everything. I'm going to take her with me and leave this world." "Impossible." Shao Qi shook her head. She then remembered Chu Li's way of doing things. He would never do something he wasn't confident about. Chu Li smiled and shook his head. "Madam, from our heaven to this heaven, we've passed through many worlds and experienced many things. The time I miss the most is when I was in the High Duke's public house." Shao Qi smiled. She recalled the time when she first met Chu Li. Chu Li was proud and arrogant. He looked down on the world, and she could not see him as a servant. Chu Li said, "I'd rather turn back time and go back to that time. Back then, I was helping you against Yurong and the Holy Church of Light." Sun Mingyue said, "If time is turned back again, you might not be able to stop me. You'll definitely lose to me." Chu Li smiled and shook his head. "Mingyue, you're extremely smart and have clever tricks up your sleeve, but you can't defeat me." Sun Mingyue rolled her eyes. The basilica was filled with a warm atmosphere. The three women seemed to have returned to the past with him. Back then, they were young and inexperienced, but they were also very beautiful. Zhou Qinglan looked at them with a smile and shook his head. Love was fragile and short-lived. Even though the three of them had experienced so much, they were still going to die in the end. If Ding Ru did not like the three women, they would not have become his fatal weaknesses, and he would not have been forced into a desperate situation. Chu Li said, "Madams, I'll be leaving first. You'll have to take care of my disciples." "Husband." Shao Qi frowned. Chu Li shook his head and turned to look at Zhou Qinglan. "Sect leader Zhou, we'll have to travel together. Ding Ru, you know that the great heavenly demon is immortal." Zhou Qinglan shook his head and chuckled. "You want to perish together with us, but you'll be the one to die in the end." "I won't die." Chu Li smiled. Suddenly, 3 circular lights appeared behind his head. They looked like 3 moons of different sizes hanging in the void behind his head. Merit's circular light. Zhou Qinglan frowned. The great heavenly demon was most afraid of the Dharma. Buddhas and heavenly demons were natural enemies, so the Dharma was the best way to deal a heavy blow to a heavenly demon. Chu Li calmly sat down, pressed his palms together, and closed his eyes. Then, the 3 circular lights suddenly lit up and turned into a dazzling sun. Chu Li's body shone brightly as a scorching sun rose above his head. Mahavairokkana Buddha had turned into a grand Sunday. This grand sun was different from the sun. Its light was not as blinding, but it was more gentle and penetrating. Its radiance was everywhere, illuminating every corner of the demon-subduing hall and penetrating every inch. Zhou Qinglan was unable to escape. "What is this?" Zhou Qinglan screamed. She felt a burning pain as if she had been struck by lightning. It was even more painful than being struck by lightning, which made her feel extremely uneasy. Ever since she became the great heavenly demon, she had known that she was immortal. However, she had suddenly lost this confidence. This omnipresent light gave her a sense of danger. It could kill her. "Stop!" Zhou Qinglan yelled. Chu Li's body had turned into a scorching sun. His appearance could not be seen, but the light from the sun was getting brighter. Zhou Qinglan turned to escape. However, the demon-slaying hall was already closed, so she could not escape. She wanted to use a treasure, but she realized that it had lost its effect. The demon-slaying hall was a world of its own, which was completely different from the heaven and earth rules outside. "Stop, Ding Ru. Let's bury the hatchet and make peace." Zhou Qinglan yelled. "From now on, we'll never be enemies." The sun was high in the sky, but Chu Li was nowhere to be seen. Zhou Qinglan felt herself melting and disappearing bit by bit. Her strength was also disappearing, which was a huge blow to her. She tried her best to find a way to escape. She wanted to use an incarnation technique, but she realized that she could not activate it. She did not know if this was the effect of the light or the demon-slaying hall. Suddenly, she rushed toward Shao Qi and the other 2 women. The 3 women easily dodged her, but they were faster than her. The scorching sun's light was destructive to her, but it was beneficial to the 3 women. Their cultivation levels were increasing rapidly, breaking through their limits and reaching a level that they could not imagine. However, their faces were gloomy and did not look happy at all. P.S. Update complete. Please remember this book's original domain name. Fastest website for mobile version. Chapter 4067. Zhou Qinglan panicked and felt that things were not looking good. If this continued, she would really die here. The great heavenly demon was an immortal being. How could she die? "Ding Ru!" Zhou Qinglan yelled. "Don't think that you're the only one who can use the technique of mutual destruction. If I use the heavenly demon disintegration technique, the demon-slaying hall will no longer exist. None of us will be able to escape." Chu Li remained silent. Only the blazing sun grew brighter and brighter. "All right, let's perish together then," Zhou Qinglan yelled as her clothes fluttered in the wind. Woo! Suddenly, a strange howl echoed in the basilica. There wasn't a single person who wasn't shocked, and their minds were shaken. An exquisite little beast leaped out from the scorching sun. Although the beast was small, it was majestic. Its fur shook violently as if it was in the midst of a strong gale. Its eyes were filled with spirituality, but they shone so brightly that no one dared to look at it directly. The tower hovered in the void and looked down at everyone, giving them the impression that it was disdainful. They could not help but find it funny. Even the cold and heartless Zhou Qinglan could not help but feel her heart soften. The little beast suddenly howled at the sky. Its strange and drawn-out laughter echoed in the demon-slaying hall. Zhou Qinglan felt her vitality fluctuating as if she was intimidated by the little beast. She stared at the beast in shock as she did not know where it came from. But she secretly heaved a sigh of relief. The blazing sun formed by Dingru seemed to be slowing down. Could it be that Dingru had thought it through and did not want to die? Shao Qi looked at the little beast thoughtfully and felt a sense of familiarity. It seemed to have come from Chuli, hee. Zhou Qinglan giggled. Dingru, you've finally thought it through. The three ladies also stared at Chuli eagerly. Only the blazing sun shone brightly. Chuli was nowhere to be seen. Zhou Qinglan frowned. Suddenly, a dragon's roar echoed in their ears. Zhou Qinglan frowned as she looked in a certain direction. A golden light flashed. 4 giant golden dragons appeared in the demon-slaying hall. The originally vast and boundless demon-slaying hall suddenly became narrow. Zhou Qinglan's beautiful face was solemn. Who said that this world belonged to the humans? The spirit beasts stayed in the 100,000 mountains. However, one could not deny the strength of spirit beasts because of this. The golden dragon was the strongest spirit beast and possessed unimaginable power. However, because spirit beasts rarely appeared outside the 100,000 mountains, people always subconsciously ignored them. He had also neglected them. 4 golden dragons soared into the sky, their torch-like eyes overlooking everything in the hall. In the end, they turned their gazes to the little spirit beast that was standing above them. The huge dragon head bent down slightly, as if bowing to him. All the girls were amazed. Could this little spirit beast be the leader of the golden dragons? The little spirit beast let out a peculiar sound as it turned its gaze toward Zhou Qinglan. The 4 pairs of eyes of the golden dragon also looked over. Zhou Qinglan's heart inexplicably jumped. He had a bad feeling and felt hostility. The dragon bellowed. A violent energy condensed within the demon-subduing hall and enveloped Zhou Qinglan. White light burst forth from Zhou Qinglan's body. This violent power was too strong. Although she could block it, she couldn't resist it. It was like a solid rock being washed away by a huge wave. Her body involuntarily flew backward until she disappeared from the demon-subduing hall. The 3 girls were dumbfounded. The berserk energy around them shocked them, but it also surprised them, because this energy actually didn't touch them at all. It was as if they were at the center of a whirlpool. The surroundings were violent, but the center was calm. Zhou Qinglan's sweet laughter could be heard from the void. Dingru, you're able to control spirit beasts. That's great. Sect leader Zhou, you're overpraising me. Chu Li's clear voice was heard. The scorching sun had disappeared, and the demon-subduing hall regained its gentle light. Husband. Shao Qi's eyes were red as she rushed forward and grabbed both of his hands. She held them tightly and refused to let go. Chu Li felt pity for her when he felt her cold and trembling hand. Husband, don't do this next time. Shao Qi begged. Don't abandon us again. Chu Li felt guilty and forced a smile. He couldn't guarantee anything. Although the golden dragon was powerful, it might not be able to kill Zhou Qinglan. The great heavenly demon's indestructible body was beyond imagination. The dragon's roar could be heard from afar, and it was mixed with a sweet and seductive shout. Chu Li's expression became more serious. It seemed like the golden dragon really couldn't kill her and would have to use the boundless light technique in the end. Xiao Qi felt something in her heart and held her hand tightly. Husband. Ah. Chu Li let out a long sigh and shook his head. If I don't kill her, the world won't be at peace and I won't feel at ease. Are you going to abandon us so cruelly? Xiao Qi asked angrily. Chu Li smiled helplessly. Second lady, forget it. Let him go. Sun Mingyue pulled Xiao Qi's hand away and said, instead of struggling at death's door, it's better to do it with a bang. Xiao Qi bit her cherry lips and her face turned pale. Hee hee. A sweet and seductive laugh could be heard in the demon-subduing hall. Chu Li's expression was solemn and his gaze was calm. Woo! A petite spirit beast appeared in front of Chu Li. Chu Li smiled as he caressed it. The little spirit beast turned into a white light and entered the space between his eyebrows. Only then did everyone realize that the little spiritual beast was actually hiding in his mind. Zhou Qinglan's graceful figure appeared out of thin air and looked at Chu Li in surprise. She said in a sweet voice, I really can't bear to kill you. You have so many unique skills, it's really interesting. Chu Li smiled calmly. Sect leader Zhou, let's go. Hee hee, I won't accompany you anymore. Before she could finish her sentence, her figure blurred. Chu Li's expression changed. The demon-subduing hall suddenly shone brightly and locked onto the void, forming a world of its own. Unfortunately, it was too late. Zhou Qinglan was nowhere to be seen. The three women heaved a long sigh of relief. Oh no, if she escapes, there'll be endless trouble, Chu Li said. Sun Mingyue shook her head. You're not a savior or the master of this world. You don't have the obligation to sacrifice for others. He cultivated the great light scripture and understood the essence of equality for all living beings in Buddhism. Even if he was skilled in martial arts, he would still be no different from other people. The stronger one's martial arts, the greater the responsibility. This was a joke. Chu Li remained silent. Lu Yurong sighed. Are you afraid that she'll kill the three of us? Sigh. Chu Li shook his head. She definitely won't let you go. She's doing this to provoke me and trigger my strongest power. The great heavenly demon is indeed inhumane. Sun Mingyue frowned. Does he not have any weaknesses? Does he not care about anyone? Yes. Chu Li narrowed his eyes and nodded thoughtfully. Zhou Shuang and Zhou Mei. Then we'll capture them. Everyone will be wary of each other and live in peace. Sun Mingyue scoffed. That's a good idea. Lu Yurong clapped her hands and chuckled. Xiao Qi frowned and thought about it before nodding slowly. This was the only way. I'm going. Chu Li smiled. The next moment, the little spirit beast turned into a ray of light and came out of his mind. It lay in the void listlessly. The three ladies smiled. Chu Li disappeared in a flash. Please remember the domain name of this book. The fastest website for mobile version. Chapter 4068. Seeing the listless little spirit beast, the three ladies felt sorry for it. Xiao Qi extended her hand and waved. The little spirit beast lay in the void, as if it was lying on the ground. When it saw Xiao Qi waving, it turned its head away. The three ladies could not help but laugh as they thought it was getting cuter. Come here. Sun Mingyue waved her hand and smiled sweetly. Here's something delicious for you. She waved her hand. A bag of crispy meat flew out from the shelf next to the wall. She waved the crispy meat. Do you like it? The little spirit beast looked up and turned its head away, even showing a disdainful expression. The three ladies were even more amazed and smiled sweetly. Where did he get this treasure? Lu Yurong asked gently. It's probably from the heavenly spirit scripture. Sun Mingyue stared at the little spirit beast without blinking and smiled. She knew the various martial arts that Chu Li cultivated. When he ascended, he used the heavenly spirit scripture. Due to being a taboo in various worlds, the heavenly spirit scripture was never used again, but it had been improving. How could a martial art that could ascend be an ordinary one? It's really interesting. Lu Yurong smiled gently. It looks fun, but its power is no joke. Sun Mingyue reminded, don't provoke it. Chu Li appeared at the peak of a mountain. White clouds floated in the sky and strong winds blew. His expression changed. Zhou Qinglan stood in the void above the peak. Her white robe fluttered like a fairy. Hee Dingru, we meet again. You can't escape from my grasp. Zhou Qinglan laughed. Chu Li used the great circle mystical mirror to observe his surroundings, but did not see Zhou Shuang and Zhou Mei. Dingru, are you looking for Xiao Shuang and Xiao Mei? Zhou Qinglan smiled faintly. Chu Li sighed. You're better than me. I'm impressed. Zhou Qinglan clearly knew that he would look for the two ladies. He had made arrangements and used them as bait. He sensed the two ladies through the silver shield that he snatched, but the other shield was now with Zhou Qinglan. Dingru, let's have a good fight or you won't have the chance to see them again, Zhou Qinglan said with a smile. Chu Li sighed. Sect leader Zhou, why do you have to force me? Do you really have to accompany me to the underworld? You are so boring. Zhou Qinglan snorted and said, you always want to die with me. Don't you have any new tricks? Just like the golden dragon from before. There's only one last move left, Chu Li said calmly. It's better to bury my bones here. They won't have to see it with their own eyes and feel sad and pained. Hee, what an infatuated man. Zhou Qinglan laughed tenderly and said, isn't practicing Buddhist martial arts heartless? You are so sentimental, how can you practice it? Chu Li calmly sat on a smooth, weathered rock and formed a seal with his hands. Seeing that he was about to get serious, Zhou Qinglan panicked a little. This was the intuition of the great sky demon. She firmly believed that Monk Ru posed a threat to her life. A sun appeared on top of Chu Li's head, giving off a warm glow. When Zhou Qinglan came into contact with this light, she felt uncomfortable all over and subconsciously wanted to escape. Dingru, do you really want to fight to the death with me? Ba. Then let's see who this is. Zhou Qinglan laughed softly and disappeared in a flash. Chu Li opened his eyes and his expression changed slightly. A graceful figure appeared next to Zhou Qinglan. It was her disciple, Princess Anfu. Princess Anfu's eyes were tightly shut and she seemed to have fainted. Chu Li laughed coldly. Oh, look at your expression. It seems like you don't want to care about your disciple anymore? Zhou Qinglan laughed in surprise. Chu Li slowly said, everyone has their own fate. You can't force them. There is a cause and there is an effect. Zhou Qinglan immediately laughed tenderly. There is a difference between those who are close to each other. Zhou Qinglan laughed and said, you can't sacrifice your own woman, but your disciples have their own fate. Looks like I can't go to the underworld with sect leader Zhou now. Chu Li said calmly, I have to send sect leader Zhou's maids to the underworld first. Alright, as long as you have the ability. Zhou Qinglan laughed softly. Please wait. Chu Li disappeared in a flash. Zhou Qinglan frowned. The next moment, Chu Li appeared with a petite girl in each hand. Zhou Qinglan's expression changed slightly. One was Zhou Shuang and the other was Zhou Mei. Both of them had their eyes closed quietly. Their expressions were peaceful as if they had fallen asleep. Zhou Qinglan laughed coldly. Dingru, you are a monk. Can you really do it? Chu Li laughed coldly. At a time like this, there is nothing I can't do. Sect leader Zhou sent my disciple to the underworld. I will send sect leader Zhou's maids to the underworld. Alright, then come at me. Zhou Qinglan said calmly. Bang bang. Two muffled sounds rang out. Chu Li's left and right palms hit the backs of the two girls. The two girls trembled and stopped moving. They were already dead. Zhou Qinglan's smile stopped abruptly. He stared coldly at Chu Li. Chu Li put the two girls down and looked calmly at Zhou Qinglan. Sect leader Zhou, how is it? Dingru, you really dared to do it. Zhou Qinglan gritted his teeth. His eyes were cold. Chu Li smiled. Zhou Qinglan did not have the intention to kill Princess Anfu immediately. He understood that if he killed Princess Anfu, Chu would immediately use the secret skill of mutual destruction. There would be no possibility of redemption. Deep down, she was slightly afraid of Chu Li's immeasurable light technique. Chu Li looked at her quietly without saying a word. He did not urge her or mock her. He just waited quietly. Zhou Qinglan was shocked by his calm expression and felt a faint chill in his heart. A gentle breeze blew on his face, but it was not cold. Time seemed to have stopped. Chu Li and Zhou Qinglan looked at each other for a long time. After a while, Zhou Qinglan sighed and said, "It's a pity." "That's it then." He gently pressed his palm on Princess Anfu's back and broke her heart meridian. He put her aside and looked at Princess Anfu with pity. He sighed. Her aptitude is too suitable to cultivate the heavenly demonic power. Chu Li chuckled. "Sect leader, you've developed a love for talent. Is it because the great heavenly demon has no successor?" "Yes." She was melancholic. The great heavenly demon had no successor. This was the most painful thing for the great heavenly demon. "This is the world's blessing." Chu Li looked at Princess Anfu with pity. He closed his eyes and formed a seal with his hands. A scorching sun appeared behind him, emitting a bright light. The silhouette of the heavenly demon appeared in the void above Zhou Qinglan's head. The heavenly demon formed a seal with both hands and turned into a black sun. Chu Li ignored it and activated the boundless light technique. White and black lights appeared in the void like night and day. The black and white gradually became blurry. This blurry area slowly turned gray as if it had become an independent world. 9 vortexes appeared in the gray area and slowly rotated, forming a huge suction force. Zhou Shuang, Zhou Mei, and Princess Anfu, who were lying on the ground, flew toward the vortexes. Chu Li frowned and a strong force pulled Princess Anfu back. "There's something strange." Zhou Qinglan chuckled. Princess Anfu suddenly opened her eyes and looked around blankly. "Master!" she cried out in surprise. Chu Li gave her a look. Princess Anfu tactfully retreated behind him and looked at Zhou Qinglan. Zhou Qinglan waved her hand and Zhou Shuang and Zhou Mei flew back to her side. They also opened their eyes in confusion. P.S. Update complete. Please remember this book's original domain name. Fastest website for mobile version. Chapter 4069. This book had been written for more than 2 years. During these 2 years, the characters in the book had always accompanied each other. It was as if they had become indispensable companions in their lives. Just like that, they were suddenly separated, never to see each other again. Just like that, they were separated from such a familiar and wonderful world. They were reluctant to part. All good things must come to an end. He could only comfort himself with this sentence. If possible, he really wanted to continue writing and immerse himself in the world of the book. Time moves forward. We are like small fish in the river of time. We can only follow it forward. Just like on the road of life, we will meet friends one after another. We will also be separated from friends one after another. As long as there are beautiful and pleasant memories left, it is worth cherishing. Keep the treasures in the bottom of your heart and welcome another beautiful encounter. This book left behind beautiful memories, but there were also many regrets. There were too many shortcomings. Let's make up for it in the next book. Chapter 4070. Ah, it's actually the young miss. The 2 girls were pleasantly surprised. They were so excited that they couldn't restrain themselves. They couldn't wait to pounce on Zhou Qinglan and tell him how much they missed him. Zhou Qinglan waved his hand. "Don't make a fuss." It's actually Monk Dingru. When the 2 women saw Chu Li, they were shocked again. Chu Li smiled. "Ladies, long time no see." "Darn Monk, why are you here?" Zhou Mei shouted. Both of them were dressed in snow-white gowns. One was charming while the other was cold and elegant. They were like a blooming rose and a proud plum blossom. We'll meet again if we're fated. How have you two been? Chu Li smiled. You don't need to pretend. Zhou Mei wrinkled her nose. The two women looked at Zhou Qinglan again and asked curiously, Miss, why is he here? Zhou Qinglan snorted, silly girl, he almost killed you. He actually found you? Zhou Mei asked curiously. That's impossible. The two ladies looked at Chu Li in surprise. They had already heard the news of Chu Li's ascension, but they curled their lips disapprovingly. They knew that he had gone to look for the lady, but they felt that Chu Li would never be able to find her. The lady was ever-changing and formless, so how could she possibly be found? They never thought that Chu Li would actually find her. All right, stop being so long-winded. We're in the middle of a life-and-death battle. Zhou Qinglan shouted. The two women responded obediently. Then, they stood behind her and looked at Chu Li curiously. Chu Li smiled and looked up. The two girls also looked into the void, and when they saw the vast scenery, they were shocked. The two suns, one black and one white, intertwined, forming a gray zone. 9 vortexes appeared in the gray zone, as if 9 eyes were staring at them. Miss, what's going on? Zhou Mei looked on curiously. You still can't see what's going on? Zhou Qinglan said snappily. Chu Li smiled. Princess Anfu asked worriedly, Master, can you defeat her? Chu Li said, We still have to fight regardless of whether we win or lose. Let's fight to the death. Could she be the person you're looking for? Princess Anfu asked softly. Chu Li nodded slowly. It's actually such a woman. I really didn't expect it, Princess Anfu sighed. She had never imagined that the mastermind behind the scenes was actually such a beautiful woman. She looked so beautiful and gentle, and was simply a combination of heaven and earth. Even as a woman, she couldn't help but be attracted by her beauty and wanted to keep looking at her. Chu Li smiled. You can't judge a book by its cover. Master, are we really going to fight to the death with her? Unexpectedly, Princess Anfu could not bear to do so. Her hostility vanished completely. She wished that she could become friends with Zhou Qinglan instead of becoming enemies and killing each other. Zhou Qinglan smiled and said, Your master insisted on taking me down with him. Princess Anfu looked at Chu Li. Chu Li shook his head and sighed. This is the great heavenly demon. She can affect others without leaving a trace, and no one can stop her. There's no other way but to kill her. Boom! A loud noise came from the sky. Everyone raised their heads to look. The void had turned completely gray. The black and white suns had already disappeared, and the original 9 vortexes had expanded by 10 times. They could be said to be huge objects, as if 9 suns were hanging in the sky. Chu Li and Zhou Qinglan's expressions suddenly changed. They could both feel a huge suction force devouring them. The two stabilized their bodies and pressed down on the 3 women who were about to fly away. At this time, the 3 women had already flown away and were slowly returned to their original positions by their inner energy. My lady, what's going on? The 2 women asked Zhou Qinglan hesitantly. Zhou Qinglan looked at Chu Li, and Chu Li looked back at her. Their gazes met, and their expressions were solemn. They both felt threatened and in danger. The 9 vortexes in the sky were like 9 monsters that devoured the vitality of this world, devouring everything tangible and intangible. If this went on, this world would be completely devoured and destroyed. This was all caused by the 2 of them. They never thought that the heavenly demonic power and boundless light technique would have such a reaction. Zhou Qinglan stared at the 9 vortexes. Her expression was solemn. Chu Li asked softly, Sect Leader Zhou, do you recognize their origin? Zhou Qinglan glanced at him and said, We're in big trouble. What are they? Chu Li frowned. Zhou Qinglan scoffed. Why should I tell you? Chu Li frowned and glared at her in dissatisfaction. Zhou Qinglan chuckled. All right. There's no harm in telling you. You can't do anything to it anyway. Chu Li looked at her calmly. Zhou Qinglan smiled. If I'm not mistaken, It's a void dragon. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. Zhou Qinglan said, it consumes the purest energy of heaven and earth. It's said that it can create a world. 33 heavens were created by the void dragon. Chu Li frowned. There's such a thing? However, it's both a creator and a destroyer. It destroys one and creates another, Zhou Qinglan said. Why did it restrict spirit beasts and create the 100,000 hills? It's because of the void dragon. Chu Li said calmly, could it be that it evolved from the golden dragon? Yes. Zhou Qinglan said, the void dragon is also known as the ancestral dragon. The void dragon is one level above the golden dragon. Since you can summon the golden dragon, how can you not know this? You're playing with fire. Chu Li's expression darkened. He summoned the little beast in his mind. Unfortunately, it seemed to be asleep. No matter how Chu Li tried to summon it, it would not wake up. It was sleeping soundly on the tree branch. From Chu Li's perspective, it was doing this on purpose. It did not want to come out and communicate with him. Could Zhou Qinglan be telling the truth? Since it's here, we only have one choice. Zhou Qinglan said. Who's going to die? The only way to deal with it is to disintegrate. We're no match for it even if we work together. Chu Li said calmly, let's die together. I don't want to die. Zhou Qinglan rolled her eyes. I've just become a great heavenly demon. I haven't enjoyed the power of a great heavenly demon. Wouldn't it be a waste to die like this? So I'll die. Chu Li smiled faintly. Zhou Qinglan scoffed. You're going to die anyway. Chu Li looked at her. Zhou Qinglan thought for a moment. How about this? I'll swear that I won't fight in this world. In exchange, you die. How about that? Swear, Chu Li said slowly. Zhou Qinglan glanced at the 9 whirlpools and shouted, I, Zhou Qinglan, hereby swear that I, Dingru, will never kill again after I die in this world. If I break this oath, I'll be punished by heaven and earth. Chu Li laughed coldly. Sect leader Zhou, you're really good. Zhou Qinglan grinned. I've already sworn. Are you going to keep your promise? Chu Li asked. Is sect leader Zhou really called Zhou Qinglan? Zhou Qinglan blinked her bright eyes. Dingru, what do you mean by that? Chu Li shook his head. That's not sect leader Zhou's real name, is it? Dingru, are you going back on your word? Zhou Qinglan frowned and said with dissatisfaction, well, then let this world die. I don't care. Goodbye. She was about to disappear. Chapter 4071. Upon hearing this, Princess Anfu was furious. He was trying to trick her master into committing suicide. She was not hostile towards Zhou Qinglan, but she could not help but feel angry and glared at him. Zhou Qinglan smiled and winked at her, dispelling her anger once again. Chu Li asked, Sect leader Zhou, are you trying to leave? A blazing sun rose above his head again, shining brightly. Zhou Qinglan's expression changed as she glared at him. There's more. Chu Li said calmly, boundless light technique. If that's the case, why don't we settle this once and for all? He glanced at Princess Anfu. Princess Anfu said hurriedly, Master, I'm not going back. Chu Li shook his head and patted her lightly. Her body suddenly lit up and disappeared. You're quite nice to this disciple. Zhou Qinglan smiled faintly as her eyes lit up as if she had discovered something extraordinary. This was Dingru's fatal weakness, which could be exploited. Chu Li calmly glanced at Zhou Shuang and Zhou Mei. Zhou Qinglan chuckled. I treat these 2 maids the same. Don't even think about catching them. As she spoke, she patted them lightly. Silver light flashed around the 2 maids and they disappeared. Their cultivation levels were so high that they could send them to the next heaven with just 1 palm strike without harming their bodies and souls. This required extremely precise palm strength and exquisite palm strength, as well as a tyrannical mental strength. The slightest mistake would cost them their lives. Chu Li nodded in satisfaction. Sect leader Zhou, I've been hesitating. What are you hesitating about? Zhou Qinglan asked with a smile. She was becoming more and more beautiful, so breathtaking that one could not help but be captivated. Chu Li had the Mahavairokkana's immobility scripture, so his heart was as calm as still water. He ignored her beauty and said calmly, "I've been wondering if you really deserve to die. Does the great heavenly demon deserve to die?" Zhou Qinglan chuckled. "I haven't done anything evil, have I?" Chu Li sneered. Zhou Qinglan pursed her lips and smiled. "All right, you did kill some people, but you saved them, so it's not considered a sin. In the words of Buddhism, karma has not been condensed." Chu Li said, "Through our fight, I gradually understood my own heart. Sect leader Zhou, you really deserve to die." Zhou Qinglan rolled her eyes at him and snorted, "You're really heartless." She could overturn the world and command all living beings, yet she couldn't do anything to Monk Dingru. It was truly infuriating. This Monk Dingru was his heart demon. If he didn't get rid of him, he wouldn't be able to feel at ease. Chu Li sighed. "After making the vow today, I've completely given up. Sect leader Zhou, I'll send you on your way." "How do you know that Zhou Qinglan isn't my real name?" Zhou Qinglan chuckled. "This is a secret that I've kept to myself." Chu Li shook his head. "Sect leader Zhou, I won't see you again." As soon as he finished speaking, the blazing sun above his head shone brightly like a blazing sun across the sky. Then, a faint sound of Sanskrit could be heard. A silhouette walked out of Chu Li's cross-legged body and entered the scorching sun. The scorching sun suddenly grew brighter. Zhou Qinglan's expression changed drastically, and his figure flickered as he was about to disappear. The danger she sensed was greater than the 9 vortexes in the sky. Amit Ba Buddha! A sonorous Buddhist chant resounded throughout the world. The scorching sun suddenly grew bigger and bigger until it covered the sky and the earth. The area within a mile around him turned into a sea of light. "Ah!" Zhou Qinglan screamed as the black light around her spread and turned into a light cocoon that enveloped her. She yelled, "Dingru, you be **starred monk." She didn't expect Chu Li to use the boundless light technique so abruptly that she couldn't escape in time. The great heavenly demon also had the heavenly demon disintegration technique, which was not inferior to the boundless light technique. However, she was unwilling to use it. At this point, she would die if she didn't use it. She might still have a chance of survival if she used it, but she couldn't let Dingru live. She made up her mind and used it without hesitation. The pitch-black light expanded and then exploded violently, blocking the white light. For a while, they were in a stalemate. The 9 vortexes in the sky suddenly reversed direction. Each vortex shot out a ray of light, and all 9 rays of light fell on Chu Li. Then, the 9 vortexes slowly disappeared into the void, as if they had never been there. The roaring little spirit beast that was standing on the kurong tree fell to the ground and slowly closed its eyes as it fell into a deep sleep. The white light surged over like mercury and drowned her. Even the black light was like ice and snow meeting the scorching sun. Zhou Qinglan roared angrily, "Ding-ru! I'm Chu Li." A clear voice came from the white light. "Miss Zhou, let's die together." Zhou Qinglan was stunned. Then, the white light engulfed her. The white light suddenly converged and disappeared. Their surroundings became quiet almost instantly, as if no one had been there. Only the flat and clean ground was filled with a strange aura. White figures suddenly flashed and 3 graceful figures appeared. Xiao Qi and the other 2 women appeared in the void. Their expressions were as calm as still water as they quietly looked at their surroundings, without moving. The breeze was gentle but could not reach within 3 feet of them. Their gowns were motionless like their frozen hearts. After a while, Sun Mingyue sighed. "He's really gone. He left just like that?" Lu Yurong was stunned. Did he go to another world? Maybe he suddenly appeared with a smile. Sun Mingyue shook her head. Xiao Qi looked at them quietly and did not say anything. Sun Mingyue said, He's really heartless. He left just like that. I still don't believe it. Lu Yurong gently shook her head. They had already parted several times, but he would always appear again. Sun Mingyue frowned. I know he has a strange skill that can resurrect the dead, but this time, she gently shook her head. Xiao Qi suddenly said, Mingyue Yurong, I'll leave first. Where? Sun Mingyue asked. Xiao Qi said, to find him. I can't continue living alone. Think about it again. Sun Mingyue said, it's not too late to think about it after a month. There might be a miracle. He always has miracles. Xiao Qi gently shook her head. It's different this time. He really left. She could not feel a trace of Chu Li's aura. Even if Chu Li ascended to another level, she could still feel his existence. It was just faintly discernible. However, when she arrived here, she could still faintly feel his remaining aura. She had completely cut off her connection with Chu Li. This meant that Chu Li had truly disappeared and no longer existed in this world. Wait for a month. Sun Mingyue said, we'll see if he doesn't return in a month. All right. Xiao Qi gently nodded. Lu Yurong calmly said, it's good to follow him. You'll be free. Sun Mingyue frowned. Lu Yurong softly said, I'm not as good as you. I can't stand a world without him. I used to feel safe in the Azura Temple. But without him, the world is really different. She looked up at the sky and then at the mountains. The green mountains were still there, but they had lost their luster. The world had turned gray. Everything was dull and boring. P.S. There's one more chapter. Please remember the original domain name of this book. The fastest website for mobile version, M. Chapter 4072. You too. Sun Mingyue shook her head. Alright, we'll wait for a month. If he doesn't resurrect in a month, I won't persuade you. Okay. Xiao Qi nodded. The three ladies sat on the smooth ground with their legs crossed. They were motionless like three white jade statues. The mountain breeze was gentle but could not approach their bodies. The sun and moon rotated as time passed. A month passed in the blink of an eye. To the people of this world, a month was like taking a nap. A month was too small compared to 10,000 years. To the three ladies, it felt like years. As the month approached, their boiling hearts gradually froze, and their bodies seemed to solidify into a block of ice. Their bodies gradually turned cold and completely turned into three ice statues. No matter how the sun and moon rotated, they merged with the mountains and rivers and completely lost their vitality. Lotus Sect Leader's Basilica. Su Xian stood quietly on the steps in front of the basilica. She looked up at the sky, where a lotus could vaguely be seen. A smile appeared on her gloomy face as she looked in the direction of Chu Li's courtyard. Jing Shue's Heaven Lotus God's descent was improving. After Jing Ru disappeared, Jing Shue became the top master of the Lotus Sect. She shouldered the heavy responsibility of being the top master of Tianan. Even without Jing Ru, Jing Shue was still there. The Lotus Sect was the strongest sect. No one could stop them, and no one dared to act rashly. A white shadow flashed, and Jing Shue suddenly appeared in front of her. She stepped on a lotus and calmly bowed. Sect leader. Su Xian smiled. Your martial arts improved again. Yes. Jing Shue was still cold. Su Xian asked, are you still thinking about Jingru? Jing Shue shook her head. Su Xian sighed softly. Looking at Jing Shue, who was getting thinner and quieter, she became more worried. If this continued, no matter how strong Jing Shue's martial arts were, something would happen to her. The higher one's cultivation level, the more important the state of mind was, and the greater the impact on the body. Once the state of mind withered, the body would wither as well. Flowers bloom and wilt, and plants grow in autumn, Su Xian said gently. Jing Ru was extremely talented and shocked the world, but she died when she was at her peak. It can only be said that it's fate. There's a limit to one's strength. I just feel that it's unfair to senior brother, Jing Shue said softly. Su Xian sighed. Yes, Jingxue said. If not for this world and all life in the world, senior brother would already be the master of the world. He could look down on the world and enjoy all its prosperity. Su Xian nodded lightly. Yes, if Jingru was still alive, no one would be unconvinced of her title as the world's #1 expert. She would be invincible and unrivaled. Maybe even the heavens were jealous of Jingru's talent. In the end, she ended up like this. Jingru sacrificed herself for the world and perished together with great Skyfiend. This kind of sacrifice was exchanged for the admiration of the various sects towards the Lotus Flower sect, and the Lotus Flower sect indistinctly became the #1 sect in Tianan. This is too unfair. Jing Shui looked up at the sky. It was as if Chu Li's smiling face had appeared in the void. It was warm, gentle, calm and calm. Every move he made carried a terrifying power. Tears overflowed from her clear eyes and slid down her jade-like cheeks, gently falling onto the floor and shattering. Su Xian remained silent. No one was more pained by Chu Li's sacrifice than her. A Lotus Flower sect with Chu Li was completely different from a Lotus Flower sect without Chu Li. But reality was so cruel. It could not be changed by her will. She had lived for so long and experienced too many life and death separations. Sect leader, I'm leaving, Jingxue said softly as she wiped away the tears at the corner of her eyes. Su Xian was startled. Where are you going? I don't know. Jingxue shook her head and stared blankly into the distance. I'm leaving the Lotus Flower sect. I don't want to stay here anymore. Memories come back to me. Su Xian nodded in understanding. The two of them had always been together in the Lotus Flower sect. They had too many memories of the past. Jingxue said, I might never come back. If there's anything, sect leader, please call me with this. She took out a jade pendant and handed it to Su Xian. Su Xian took it and said softly, Jingxue, the heart technique you cultivate shouldn't be too sad. Yes. Jingxue smiled faintly. She glanced at the Lotus Flower sect, and then at Su Xian. She smiled mournfully. With senior brother gone, it's like I'm the only one left in the world. I don't know where I'm going or what I'm going to do. Su Xian said, he didn't want you to be like this. He sacrificed himself so that you could live on. Jingxue nodded lightly. Yes, if it wasn't for this, why would I have to endure so bitterly? She felt that it was too hard, lonely, desolate, and helpless. Even though her cultivation was shocking and almost invincible, she did not feel a shred of joy. She watched the sun rise and set every day. Time seemed to slow down. Every moment was so unbearable, so boring, and so gray. She did not dare to recall the old days. Every time she thought of Chu Li, her heart would suffer a shattering pain. It was so painful that she could not breathe. She could only cultivate. Only by cultivating and entering a meditative state could she endure the passage of time and not feel pain. A world without Chu Li was no longer the original world. There was no light, only deathly silence and desolation. She had thought of freeing herself from this pain countless times, but when she recalled what Chu Li had said before he left, she did not want to go against his wishes. If he really died, what would be the point of his sacrifice? Therefore, he had to live. He had to continue living so that his sacrifice would not be in vain. But she really couldn't stay in the Lotus Flower School. There were memories and auras everywhere here, making it impossible for her to forget. She couldn't hold on any longer, so she had to forget and suppress all the memories in her heart. Only then would she be able to survive and not take the initiative to free herself. Let's go to the Creation sect and take a look, Su Xian said softly. Sect leader Zhou has also disappeared. They probably died together. Jingxue said indifferently, Sect master, I'll be going. Su Xian said, your courtyard will still be there. If you want to come back, you can come back anytime. Don't forget, this is your home. Jingxue nodded gently. Her figure blurred before disappearing. Time flew by slowly. Chuli did not know when he had woken up. The tree of life and death in his mind had grown bigger, and the little spirit beast on the tree was sleeping even more soundly. Everything in his mind was the same as before. There was no change at all. However, the great light Buddha had become clearer. When he opened his eyes, he found himself standing on the mountain peak where he and Zhou Qinglan had perished together. He saw 3 statues. They were Shao Qi and the other 2 women. The 3 women were no longer breathing and had no signs of life. Their bodies were stiff, but they did not decay. They were indestructible. This was caused by their cultivation level. It did not mean they were still alive. Standing in front of the 3 women, Chuli had mixed feelings, but he was not anxious or in pain. As long as he was alive, the 3 women would live. He gently pressed the 3 women's bodies. In a flash, the 4 of them appeared in the demon-subduing hall. He quietly sat in the center of the hall and waited for the 3 women to be resurrected. An hour later, the 3 women opened their eyes and saw Chuli. When Chuli appeared in front of Jingxue, he found her with Wenyi. They were building a hut in a valley. Jingxue almost fainted when she saw him. She only managed to stay conscious after Chuli sent her a wisp of energy. She was in disbelief. "Junior sister, life and death are common for me." Chuli stood side by side with Jingxue beside a clear pool in the valley. He smiled. "My life is very tough." Jingxue said hatefully, "You're too scary this time." "All right, I'll come and see you often." Chuli smiled. "I'm free now that the great heavenly demon has been destroyed." "Senior brother, where are you going?" Jingxue asked. Chuli replied, "I'm returning to my roots. I'm returning to my original world, but I'll come and see you often. After all, it's boring to stay in one place." Jingxue frowned. "Senior brother, I have a question." "Speak." Chuli smiled. Jingxue asked, "Senior brother, if you can be resurrected, what about the great heavenly demon? Will she be resurrected too?" Chuli was stunned. Then, he laughed. "Who knows? I don't want to hear about your death." Jingxue scoffed. Chuli smiled. "Even if she's resurrected, I won't perish together with her. I'm strong enough to suppress her now." As he spoke, he waved his hand and smiled at Wenyi. Then, he disappeared in a flash. Chuli and the 3 women settled down on Goddess Attraction Mountain. Goddess Attraction Mountain in the Outland had been restored. Chuli and the others thought that it had only been 2 years, but 20 years had passed. After 20 years, Goddess Attraction Mountain had been restored, but it was still a second-rate sect. Even with the protection of the Golden Dragon and Chuli's reputation, it was still a second-rate sect. Chuli and the 3 women would occasionally return to the public house to stay for a while. They would also often visit Xiaoshi in the Imperial Palace. Occasionally, they would stay at the Holy Church of Light. When they were bored, they would go up to the upper heavens, meet up with old friends, or give some advice to their disciples. Occasionally, he would touch the imperial registry papers that had been merged into one. He was eager to explore the upper heavens, but Xiao Qi and the others would always snatch them away and hide them. When the children were born, grew up, and went out to explore, no one mentioned the white-robed Chuli's name. They couldn't imagine how their father, who never left the house and only cared about flowers and grasses, could have 3 beautiful wives. Time seemed to avoid them and didn't leave a mark on them. Their mother was a stunning beauty and had unparalleled martial arts. Why did she fall in love with their father? This made them very curious. They tried every possible way to ask around, but they could not connect the legendary, majestic, and unparalleled white-robed Chuli with their father. The white-robed Chuli was gone. P.S. The end of the book. Please remember the domain name of this book. The fastest website for mobile version, M. Chapter 4073. When I finished the book, I had mixed feelings. This book had been written for more than 2 years. During these 2 years, I had been with the characters in the book, as if they had become indispensable companions in my life. Just like that, I suddenly separated, never to see them again. Just like that, I was cut off from such a familiar and wonderful world. I couldn't bear to leave. All good things must come to an end. I could only comfort myself with this sentence. If possible, I really wanted to continue writing and immerse myself in the world of the book. Time moves forward. We are like the little fish in the river of time. We can only follow it forward. Just like on the road of life, we will meet one friend after another, and we will also be separated from them. As long as there are beautiful and happy memories, it is worth cherishing. Keep the treasures in the bottom of your heart and welcome another beautiful encounter. This book left behind beautiful memories, but there were also many regrets and flaws. Because it was written very quickly, it was a single-line structure. There was no foreshadowing or brewing of contradictions, and the pursuit of short, flat, and quick excitement was not satisfying enough. Moreover, because it was a single-line development, it was inevitable that it would be dull and monotonous. There were also many loopholes. After all, the human brain is limited. Even if one used a pen to record everything, even if one wrote according to the outline, some details would still be blurred and forgotten. Under the condition of 6 chapters a day, the brain was really overloaded, dizzy, and full of mistake. Although I slowed down the speed in the later stages, it became harder to control. Once I slowed down, the time dragged on, and the memory of the earlier parts became even more blurred. Dear readers, when I was reading, I could read a few million words in a day, but these millions of words were written in 2 years. My memory was not as good as the readers, and there were many loopholes. I was scolded by the readers in the comments, and I had nothing to say. Also, the violence was too strong. It was just killing, and the plot was not rich. In order to pursue results and strong excitement, this was the only way. Reading might be boring and dry, and the further one went, the more tired it would be. This was something that could not be helped. My ability was limited, and for the sake of results, I could only do this. The next book would be less violent, and the results might be worse. But I had to give it a try and not keep repeating myself. My sincere thanks to all the readers. Let us reunite in the world of Lord of Lightning. I will write carefully and you can enjoy it. Please remember the original domain name of this book. The fastest website for mobile version, M. Chapter 4074. The White-Robed Manager's new book, Sword from the Heavens, has been released. Please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 4075. The White-Robe Manager's new book, Super Eunuch Brain, has begun. Please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 4076. The White-Robe Manager's new book was uploaded to Qian's Longevity. Currently typing, please wait a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.